What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Once again, Michael or Legacy Kill HD here. Today we're going to be discussing some of the biggest and best open world games coming in 2017, and as some of you may recall, we've already taken a look at a lot of amazing open world titles coming out next year. But if you missed any of the past videos, make sure you check out the links in the description. A lot of amazing games that you may have not heard of yet, so make sure you give that a look. Nonetheless, let's start here at the number 10 spot with Agents of Mayhem. And it's an open world action-adventure third-person shooter video game set in the Saints Row universe. Agents of Mayhem is a spin-off of the Saints Row series taking place after the Recreate Earth ending of Saints Row Get Out of Hell. The game's plot revolves around an organization known as Mayhem, and their goal is to stop the terrorist organization Legion from destroying the world's nations. The game takes place in a futuristic version of Seoul, South Korea, billed as the City of Tomorrow. The players control 3 agents at a time with the ability to switch between them at will. There are 12 total agents to choose from, each with their own unique playstyle and abilities. And some of these agents include Fortune, a Colombian former sky pirate, Hardtack, a United States Navy Chief Petty Officer, Hollywood, actor and proclaimed face of Mayhem, and Rama, Indian immunologist. And we also have some other characters that we don't know much about yet. Kingpin Yeti, a character that I can't pronounce, so I'll put it on the screen, Oni, Braddock, Daisy, Redcard, and Jewel. And I have to admit, it is awesome to see Volition back. It's going to be fun to see what they can put together with Agents of Mayhem. I already can see some of the parodies that they'll have within the game, some of the ties to Overwatch and Grand Theft Auto 5, but nonetheless, they make some of the more enjoyable and fun open world games out there, so I'm really intrigued to see what they're going to put together, and so far it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And although this is still in the Saints Row universe, it seems like they're going to have more creative freedom, so maybe they'll make another gem like Saints Row the 3rd or Saints Row 4. Now to the number 9 spot, we have Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. It's a medieval action role-playing game being developed by Taleworlds Entertainment. The game is a prequel, 200 years before the events of Mount and Blade Warband. It takes place during the decline of the Calradian Empire and the formation of the kingdoms that appear in the previous games. The armor, weapons, and architecture will draw inspiration from 600 to 1100 AD. Bannerlord will include at least 6 major factions, each composed of competing clans with their own goals, as well as minor warband factions like mercenaries. And with Mount and Blade Warband just coming to the Xbox One and PS4, you have to expect that Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord will be making a console release. The big thing about the Mount and Blade franchise was that the previous games never really had any graphical highlights or even some of the gameplay. It was just a lot of fun playing with other people and some of the elements that came together to make an ultimate role-playing experience. I played it hours and hours on end, and we've seen a lot of gameplay so far, a lot of highlights of the siege mode, and the AI's gotten better and the worlds feel like they're more full, and that's what I love about this game so far. They've been working on this for years now, they're taking their time. Hopefully we'll be getting a release date soon, as they have just recently launched the Steam page for Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. But either way, I am pumped for this, and I'm glad that Taleworlds is taking their time and they're going to deliver an amazing experience for everybody. And to the number 8 spot, we have Horizon Zero Dawn. It's an action role-playing video game being developed by Guerrilla Games. The plot revolves around Aloy, a hunter and archer who lives in a world overrun by robots. Having been enclosed her whole life, she sets out to discover the dangers that kept her sheltered for so long. Aloy makes use of ranged and melee weapons and stealth tactics to combat the mechanized creatures whose remains can also be looted for resources. The game features an open world environment for Aloy to explore, divided into tribes that hold side quests to accomplish, while the main story guides her throughout the whole world. And by far, this is one of the most beautiful games coming out in 2017, and so far it looks spectacular. It won a lot of awards at E3, one of those being Best of Show, and it really could be the best game coming out in 2017. And the premise of this title is very unique. You never expect to see mechanized dinosaur-like creatures overrunning the world. And what interests me the most is how all this will translate into the narrative of the game, because I do wonder how these mechanized creatures took over. Maybe through side quests or even exploring the open world will give us some of the secrets, or maybe it's just Skynet. Either way, this title is shaping to be one of the best games coming out next year. But now to the number 7 spot, we have Days Gone. It's an open world action-adventure survival horror video game in development by SIE Bent Studio. It's played from a third-person perspective, and players will be controlling Deacon St. John, a drifter and former bounty hunter who prefers to live a dangerous life on the road over living in wilderness encampments. The game takes place 2 years after a global pandemic occurred, which killed almost all of humanity, but turned millions of others into freakers, mindless zombie-like creatures that are quickly evolving. Players are allowed to use multiple ways to complete objectives, such as utilizing stealth for silent takedowns or taking the aggressive approach by using long and short-ranged weapons. Dynamic day-night cycles also feature in the game, which makes freakers weak and slow during the day, but fast and aggressive during the night. Vehicles such as motorbikes can be used to explore the game's open world. Players are also able to craft new items to improve combat efficiency. And this title was one of the biggest surprises coming out of E3 2016. We got quite a bit out of it. We got to see some amazing gameplay, and we also got introduced to our main character, who seems like a very badass character. Kind of reminds me of Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead, but at least based on his appearance. But there's a lot of questions about this story and what it's going to be about. Obviously, it's going to be surviving against these zombie-like creatures, but there's another bigger question, and it's the surviving humans that are around him. There seems to be some some type of human presence that are against him. So I'm interested in knowing who they are and why do they not like this guy. Obviously, maybe it's just surviving, but he also has some type of loved ones, so maybe that takes a role in all of this. Either way, it's going to be fun to see how all that plays out, and also seeing how the gameplay is, because there seems to be a lot of ways that we're going to be able to take down these enemies, either stealthily or even going after them with the action-packed way, which is shooting all these enemies down. But obviously there may be consequences with that. And at this point, there's a lot of questions about what we're going to be getting with Days Gone, and I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot more answers in the next coming months, but so far they've got us hyped up for this. Now to the number 6 spot, we have State of Decay 2. It's a survival video game being developed by Undead Labs. It's said to be a bigger, badder, bolder, smoother State of Decay that you can play with your friends with. The world is more dangerous and unpredictable than ever, so if you choose, you can work closely with up to 3 other players to build lasting communities and put your survival plan to the test. As with the original hit game, your choices will shape an interconnected world and form a unique experience every time you play. Dynamic game systems for character progression, base building, leadership promotion, and consequence-driven storytelling will result in a dramatic experience that tests your will to survive. And throughout the game, you'll explore a visually stunning and richly detailed world brought to life with the Unreal Engine 4. Now, as I have stated in the past, I felt like this game got slept on by way too many people. It was a very fun zombie game, and I'm really intrigued to see what type of improvements and new features that they will be including, and also progressing the story and seeing what exactly happened after leaving Trumbell Valley. And switching from the CryEngine to the Unreal Engine 4 will bring a much better graphical experience, and it'll make exploring the zombie-infested world just a little bit better. Now to the number 5 spot, we have Star Citizen. It's a space sim video game for PC being developed by Cloud Imperium Games. It's planned to consist of 4 main components: first-person space combat, mining, exploration, and trading with first-person shooter elements in a massively multiplayer persistent universe and customizable private servers, and a branching single-player and drop-in cooperative multiplayer campaign titled Squadron 42. It's being directed by Chris Roberts, who's best known for Wing Commander, which Squadron 42 is actually its spiritual successor. The storyline centers on an elite military unit and involves the player character enlisting in the United Empire of Earth Navy, taking part in a campaign that starts with a large space battle. The game is planned to be released in multiple chapters, and Squadron 42 will include Hollywood talent playing characters. Some are Gary Oldman, Mark Hamill, Mark Strong, Gillian Anderson, Andy Serkis, and many more. And the game will also feature a persistent universe module which will allow players to explore the open world that's been created. This has already been one of the biggest games of all time, and it's only getting better and better. There are some things that they do need to improve on, such as the first-person shooter element, but looking at this game thus far, it looks absolutely magnificent. From a graphical perspective, it looks beautiful, and all the features and modules included really sets up for this game being one of the biggest games of all time, and eventually we're going to get all the pieces interconnected, and finally Star Citizen will be complete, and hopefully from there on they'll be updating the game, adding cooler and newer features. To the number 4 spot, we have SpiderMan. It's an open-world action-adventure video game based on the Marvel comic superhero Spider-Man, and it's being developed by Insomniac Games. The game will tell an entirely new story about Spider-Man and is not tied to any film or comic book. The game will cover both the Peter Parker and Spider-Man aspects of the character and will feature a more experienced Spider-Man. The game will take place in an open-world New York City. Players will be able to use Spider-Man's well-known abilities such as web-slinging and wall crawling, as well as new gameplay elements unseen in previous Spider-Man games. And one of the new gameplay elements will be the ability to traverse using parkour. Now, I've touched on this briefly in the past, but Spider-Man 2 in the PS2 days was so much fun. That's why I'm excited to see what Insomniac Games has for us. And hearing that we're going to have an experienced Spider-Man who's been through some things, that's very interesting because we have not seen that before. It always seems to be this high school Spider-Man who's just going through puberty, and maybe that means Uncle Ben does not have to die again, or it's just a flashback. Now, with this game not being tied to any film or comic book, I'm going to be looking to see what type of characters will be featured. Will we see Mary Jane as the love interest? Will Jonah Jameson still be Spider-Man's boss or be featured? And if he is in the game, please bring J.K. Simmons to take his role. He's born for it. And in terms of villains, will we see Venom or maybe a character that we haven't seen before? There's a lot of characters in the Marvel universe that I would love to see Spider-Man face off with. Either way, this game has a lot of potential, and it'll be cool to see if we get more superhero games like this in the future. And at the number 3 spot, we have Mass Effect Andromeda. It's an action role-playing third-person shooter video game developed by BioWare. It is the first game in the Mass Effect series to feature an open world. The game takes place long after the events of the first 3 Mass Effect games in the Andromeda galaxy. A new protagonist, Ryder, is designated as a Pathfinder, an operative tasked with discovering a new planet for the human race to colonize. Players will be able to pilot the new and customizable 6-wheeled buggy type vehicle Mako to explore the new planets featured in the game, and if you're not aware, this vehicle was actually featured in the first Mass Effect game, and the game will also feature various planets for players to explore, with each having their own characteristics. Similar to its predecessors, the game features a dialogue tree, choices, romantic relationships with companions, and cooperative multiplayer. And this very much could be Game of the Year contender of 2017. It definitely looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to finally get back into the Mass Effect universe, and a lot of us have a sour taste in our mouth since Mass Effect 3, and I think a lot of us want to see a new start, and now we're in the Andromeda galaxy. We're going to have all kinds of new characters and people to interact with, so I'm definitely amped up to see what they have in store for us. And from the brief gameplay that has been shown thus far, it looks beautiful, but it also makes me curious about exploration on some of these planets and uncovering hopefully some mysteries and secrets. And either way, I think a lot of us are happy to finally get a new Mass Effect title. At the number 2 spot, we have Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's an action-adventure video game under development by Nintendo for the Wii U and the company's upcoming Switch. The story is set in Hyrule and follows the protagonist Link, who awakens from a 100-year slumber to a mysterious voice that guides him on a quest to defeat Calamity Ganon. Despite Link usually being left-handed within the Legend of Zelda series, within this game he will be right-handed. And this title will also be using an advanced physics engine, as well as the ability to play through the game's dungeons in any order. Throughout the game, Link will be possessing a piece of technology known as the Sheikah Slate, which provides players with a map and allows Link to create waypoints and investigate enemy stats. By discovering various runes, the technology can be upgraded with various powers, including creating bombs, controlling objects with magnetism, and stopping time around objects and enemies. Next year, Nintendo has two very big things launching. They obviously have the Nintendo Switch, and they have this next Legend of Zelda game, and both of them seem to be phenomenal. They both look fantastic, and I'm excited to see Nintendo finally going in the right direction. I haven't been very devoted to this franchise in years, since I believe I was a kid playing with my father, but with the great gameplay trailer that Nintendo gave to us, and everything I've heard, I'm excited to see the next steps from Nintendo, not necessarily just this next game, but seeing what they have in store for us in the future. Either way, whenever this does drop in 2017, it's going to be feeling very nostalgic when exploring this vast open world. Now finally, at the number 1 spot, we have Red Dead Redemption 2. It's an open world western action-adventure third-person shooter video game being developed by Rockstar Games, which is said to be an epic tale of life in America's unforgiving heartland. The game's vast and atmospheric world will also provide the foundation for a brand new online multiplayer experience. And not much is known about Red Dead Redemption 2. We've seen the poster of the game, we've also seen a trailer briefly showing off the beautiful open world that Rockstar Games has created for us. But this title has had some very convincing leaks, one of those being the leaked world map, which a lot of the landmarks seen in this trailer connect to the locations on this map. What also can be found from this map is that we see parts of Red Dead Redemption returning, such as tall trees in the Great Plains. We also have huge amounts of water, such as some lakes and rivers, which makes you think that we will be having the ability to use boats and possibly swim. And another interesting leak is a development image of Red Dead Redemption 2 came from a Rockstar Game employee's portfolio. A lot of people assumed that this could be a Red Dead Redemption remaster, but it was clear when the trailer came out for Red Dead Redemption 2 that one of the characters was almost identical to the one seen in this image, and also some of the assets that are used within this image can be seen within the trailer. This has been what Rockstar Games has been working on for the last couple years, and it's going to be a lot of fun to finally get a Rockstar game. As a lot of you know, this is the number 1 game I cover on my channel, all kinds of leaks, news, and information. And from the Red Dead Redemption 2 poster, we see some characters from Red Dead Redemption such as John Marston, Dutch Vanderlyn, and Bill Williamson. It's going to be pretty cool to see what their roles are in the game, but in all honesty guys, I'm ready to get back into the West. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you smack that like button if you did enjoy the video or found any informative value. Also drop down in the comments, let me know what open world game you're looking forward to the most in 2017 and why, and if you have not already, consider subscribing for a lot more additional upcoming games videos, and I'll see you later.